Welcome back to the Young Pioneer Podcast. Today we have an interesting update on North Korea's Wonsan Kalma Resort, which has officially opened. However, it's important to note that the facility is currently only open to domestic tourists and not foreign visitors. While it boasts modern amenities and picturesque views, it's a reminder of the ongoing restrictions and the complex dynamics surrounding North Korea's approach to tourism. I'm Justin Martell, and this is another episode of the Young Pioneer Podcast.
저선주왕 방송입니다.
All right, and it's been a little bit of a hiatus, but we've been quite busy here at Young Pioneer Tours. We've been adding new tours, planning classic ones, and staying up to date, of course, with all of the latest and constantly shifting and changing updates with regard to North Korea tourism, which unfortunately right now it still remains closed, as I indicated in our intro. But we have to assume that Marshal Kim Jong-un will want some return on investment for his huge Wonsan Kalma resort complex. So it's predicted that it will first open to domestic tourists, then followed by Russian tourists, and hopefully Chinese and Western tourists thereafter. But it is the Hermit Kingdom. It's always unpredictable, and you never know. And today we have a very special podcast because you actually don't have to suffer through listening to my voice for the entire podcast. Today we are going to hear an interview conducted by Caitlin during a recent tour in Beirut, Lebanon. Caitlin is YPT's Middle East and Central Asia tour manager and also a tour guide. So in this interview, Caitlin shares that Lebanon has been a YPT destination for years, but that we did take a hiatus last year due to ongoing tensions in the region. Now Lebanon tours are back, and we're excited to explore Lebanon again with our customers. So Caitlin will be highlighting the complexity of Lebanon's history while talking with our local tour guide, Mira, noting that if you ask at least 10 Lebanese people about a political event, you'll get at least 10 different answers, with roots tracing back to the Canaanites and influences from various empires. Lebanon is home to 18 recognized religious groups. Recent challenges, including civil war, financial crisis, COVID-19, and regional conflicts, have impacted tourism and raised questions about the future for those living in Lebanon. I'm going to stop talking. Let's listen in.
My name is Caitlin. I'm a tour guide and manager of the Middle East and Central Asia at YPT, and currently I'm in Beirut, Lebanon. This is one of my favorite cities in the world, and I'm very excited to be back. And I'm happy to announce that after a short hiatus, we're returning to Lebanon for tours. We have 3 tours this year, one in April, one in August, and one in September. And on these tours, you're going to see things like Beirut City, Byblos, Petron, Tripoli, and Baalbek. And in all these places, you're going to eat good food, drink good drinks, meet great people, and see lots of amazing historical sites. And with me today, I have Mira. Mira is our local tour guide here in Lebanon, and she's the founder and owner of her own tourism company here. Yeah, hi. Hi. Thank you so much for talking with me today. And today I just wanted to talk a little bit about tourism in Lebanon. And I guess you know more than anyone that this has been a really tough period for tourism in Lebanon. And I'm not just referring to the last 2 years. I think probably the last 6-7 years, something like this has been very difficult for multiple different reasons. And I wanted to ask you, through all this stress and all these hardships, what made you want to become a tour guide?
Wow.
I get asked this question a lot, especially by Lebanese, because it's weird, and we all know that the situation in Lebanon is ups and downs all the time. And in 2006 we had a small conflict happening, 1 month's war. And then this is when I decided to study tourism.
What excellent timing.
Exactly. Why did I choose this major? I think I didn't think properly when I did, but I loved history, and I like to learn more languages, and I like to connect with people from different backgrounds. So this was my main purpose. But then I studied for 3 years, and then the 4th year I decided to enroll with the Ministry of Tourism to get my license officially. And this is when the up period came, so It was also perfect timing. But I didn't decide to work as a tour guide back then. I was still afraid of what will happen, because it's uncertain, it's not a stable job. And when I decided to work as a tour guide, it has already been a lot of ups and downs by then. I left my office job, and I officially became a full-time tour guide. And I think this was the best decision I ever made, even though since 2018 all the way until today, you already know, I need not to tell you what happened.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, my love for languages, history, Lebanon especially, and to connect to people, but also to tell them the story of Lebanon with all its ups and downs. It was my motivation. And this is what keeps me motivated also to stay in this job until today, even though nowadays we're living in a very down period. I have very few tours nowadays, but I think this is one of the main motivations for me to keep on holding the flame and going forward with this job.
And I saw you mention the other day when we were having a conversation, but in Lebanon, for those who don't know, there's actually more Lebanese living outside of Lebanon than there is inside Lebanon. And these are because of, decades of different challenges, and especially recently. And a lot of the younger people decide to go overseas and study. And I think it's a really big decision when you're a young adult, also deciding whether you want to stay and put your roots down here in Lebanon, or if you want to try overseas and try do something different over there. And I've met many people who've decided to stay, and I've met a lot of people who also decided to leave and try overseas. So I wanted to know kind of your rationale behind staying.
There's nothing rational behind my decision to stay. I mean, I've been through some periods of time where I thought of leaving, and I tried to apply for jobs outside of Lebanon. But then when I get accepted, or even when I get rejected, when I get accepted, I would be thinking, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna live abroad? It would be weird for me. But then when I get rejected, I would be happy because it was not the decision that I wanted to make. And there's something, whenever someone asks me why did I decide to stay, I always reply the same way. I would always say, if everyone leaves, who's gonna stay? If I also leave, who's gonna stay? I mean, I have a lot of my colleagues who were tour guides in Lebanon who were very successful as well, but then they decided to leave, either if they are recently married, they want to build a family, they want to build a family outside of this situation that we're living, or even if they're still without the idea of building a family, they just want to build their own future. They decided to leave and to start somewhere new from zero, sometimes from below zero. And I think this is also hard to do. I just decided to stay. I mean, I think this is also Lebanon nowadays, with all its uncertainty, it's my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I know how to manage things around. I mean, I also have my family, my parents, my siblings that also decided to stay. And I would be thinking, like, why would I leave if they are staying? So this was one of the main ideas that would go through my mind, that I don't want to leave.
And we've talked a bit about these challenges that Lebanon has faced in recent times. And I guess there's a couple that come to mind in the last 6 or 7 years, probably starting with the mass inflation that happened. Also the port explosion, which occurred in 2020. The effects of COVID also on the economy. And more recently with the conflict that's happening in the south of Lebanon. And so with all these challenges, I wanted to know if you could explain a bit about what it's been like guiding through these challenges where tourism has kind of been a bit stop and start and stop and start.
It is very challenging because when you don't do a job continuously, especially a job like a tour guide, you need to stay updated into everything. You need to have a lot of knowledge in history and modern history as well, in the news, what's happening nowadays, not only in Lebanon but also worldwide, to stay connected with restaurants, coffee shops, hotels, and everything what's going on around the country. This is where the challenging part comes. If we're stopping and rebooting, then a lot of things will change throughout the process, and the info will change as well. So I would feel like I've been outdated a bit if for a couple of months I haven't gone on any tours, which would be hard for me to reinitiate tours once again, especially if it's somewhere in Bekaa, for example, or nowadays in South Lebanon. It's been a year I haven't guided any tours in South Lebanon, so it's very hard for me to actually reinitiate a tour there. I need to go more than once to check on things, to see what changed. So this is also part of the challenge. And if I'm not working, I don't have an income. I'm a full-time tour guide, and to be a tour guide in Lebanon and to stay as a tour guide, you need to be a full-time tour guide. You cannot have a different job on the side, because then the tour guiding would be the side job.
Exactly.
If there's no income, then this also will not help to stay updated on things.
And I think a lot of different areas, as you touched on, have been really affected in recent years. So you mentioned things like restaurants, hotels, I guess other tourist attractions. Do you know how different areas have been surviving through this? Because for example, yesterday I met a shop owner who used to sell home goods and different household items, and his shop now only sells Lebanese handmade crafts, things like this, because they weren't able to import things in for a period of time, or it became too costly, and so this man had to kind of pivot his business to be able to survive. Do you feel like this is the same with a lot of different businesses that kind of rely on tourism?
Of course. Well, tourism is the major income sector that gives income to the country. And for a certain period of time, especially during COVID, and because during COVID we had this economic crisis happening, and then we had a problem with the US dollars, especially that the Lebanese lira also lost its value. A lot of businesses were affected, of course, especially in the services sector. So a lot of people shifted their business, but also a lot of shops or hotels, the small hotels, ran out of business as well, so they had to close. Some of them for a certain period of time and then reopen later. Nowadays, for example, the situation is getting a bit better with the liras, and it's been stable since last year. So yeah, some of them have reinitiated and some of them have already lost their business. So either they chose a different sector or a different thing to do during this time to bring them income or to let them survive in this condition, or they have found a way around to survive and to reopen or to rebuild their business somehow.
That makes sense, yes. I remember the first time I came to Lebanon was actually 2 years ago, and this was after, I guess, the port explosion, after COVID, or on the tail end of COVID. And when I came here in summer, and I remember the hostels being full, even though everyone kept saying you haven't seen it like it was beforehand, you should have been here, 2018, 2017, even before that. And even now there's less tourists, I think, since October 2023. Hopefully we see this continue and we see tourists return. But even seeing the parallel from my first time in Lebanon and to now, you can see a massive difference. And I wanted to ask you, what kind of tourists do you see coming to Lebanon before the 2019 period? And what kind of tourists do you see coming now?
Oh, well, I started working as a full-time tour guide, as I mentioned earlier, in 2018, and this was a very prosperous period in tourism for Lebanon. And in 2018, 2019, I was working 30 out of 31 days per month.
Wow.
And sometimes I would choose to take like 5 days off to travel or to just relax. I wouldn't call it mass tourism, because the tourism in Lebanon, even when it's at its highest, it's not as you see it in Europe, for example, or in other countries, in other continents. But then we had big groups of tourists coming, especially from Europe, from the States, from even from the Latin American continent, or parts of the continent. And then they would either be accompanied by Lebanese expats or on their own, because they've heard about Lebanon from expats. So they are very interested and excited to discover it as a country, to see if it's the same as they describe it. And most of the times, I mean 99% of the time, it is described. And then all the way until 2020, or like late 2019, early 2020, this stopped because of COVID and the lockdowns. And then it reinitiated in 2021. I began to see these groups again in Lebanon, coming from Spain, from France, Italy, Germany, even from the States. They were also courageous to come back to Lebanon. And it continued this way until 2023. With what happened in October, a lot of groups started canceling. But also throughout all of this time, we had individual tourists coming, the ones that decide to come on an adventure or to do something out of the box, something different than what the tour groups do. I'm talking about this big tour groups, if it's commercial or not. But nowadays, I mean, since 2023, if I'm speaking on a personal note, I haven't had these big groups coming anymore. And then, I mean, the YPT were a few of the groups that were excited to discover Lebanon and to let people know what's happening in Lebanon, or to see it on a different view from what's shown on the news. And I think the feedback was, I'm talking about what I've received as a feedback, it was pretty amazing.
It was.
And it made me really happy that there are still some people who are interested to come to a shattered country that is only being the propaganda that is being spread on the news, only the bad things, and they let go of the interesting, nice things that people could discover and see in Lebanon, or the people that they would meet, the history that they would get to learn. So since 2023 all the way until today, very few are, let me say, courageous to actually decide to come back to Lebanon and to check it out, to live the experience as it is on ground and not the one that is being shown on the news.
And so at YPT, a lot of the customers we've had come through are people who have no personal attachment to Lebanon. They've just heard how amazing it is and they've wanted to come and see it for themselves. And I've been lucky enough to work with you for some tours and bring lots of people, and their feedback is always super positive. And it comes from people is usually the best compliment that the Lebanese get, is that everyone is so hospitable and welcoming. There's always really good food, really good parties, just everything's amazing. Beirut is fantastic. The sites here in Lebanon are just incredible. I mean, in the middle of Beirut, there's incredible old ruins there. It's spread all across the country, which is amazing to see. It's very accessible. The nature is amazing. It's very picturesque, and it's also a very interesting place for people who are interested in politics and also religion, to see how so many different diverse groups live together. And I wanted to ask, which place in Lebanon is your favorite to bring tourists? And I know that's a hard question because I know how much you love Lebanon.
I mean, this is the hardest question anyone could ask me. Well, it's like you're asking someone which is your favorite child.
Yeah. I thought maybe.
I originally come from Batroun, which is in the north, and then my family is a mix of people that came from different parts and just got together. So I have descendants. I mean, my grandma is from Zahle, from Bekaa. My grandpa is from Dar el Amar, from the Shuf. And then my father, of course, from Batroun. My other grandma is from Beirut, so it's a mix. I'm only missing the southern part.
Yes.
Probably I will get to choose a partner from the south.
Maybe.
So I'm very attached to everywhere in Lebanon.
Or is there a place that you feel tourists particularly gravitate to when they come here?
Well, let me tell you, what my favorite city, this I got to feel, to experience the past couple of years, is Sur, Tyre in the south. This is, I would honestly say that Sur is my favorite city. This is where I feel like I feel free when I guide in Sur, when I talk about Sur, Tyre. I love it, and since I've been away for a year, I feel like I miss it the most. The mix in Tyre is amazing. This is why I like it. It's like a mix of the different religious communities, and then it has a really huge Phoenician history, but also a lot of ruins dating back to the Roman period. The modern history is amazing in Sur, even though nowadays it was going through some hardships. But I think this is my favorite city. Yes. And this is where I'd love to guide all the time. But also I'm very attached to Beirut.
Yes, of course.
I mean, Beirut is the city that never dies. People get amazed when I go to the mountains. When they check out the cedar trees, it would be something really different for them, especially that a lot of people don't know a lot about Lebanon, so they wouldn't think that in the mountains of Lebanon there are these type of trees, and then if they come during winter, especially on the February tours, they would check out the snow as well. So they need to be prepared while going to the Shuf, to the mountains. They would be walking around snow. And lastly,
Baalbek, of course.
I need not to say more.
I think this is the most requested place by our customers. We have people coming to Lebanon with us just to see Baalbek.
I can imagine.
It's definitely worth the hype. And now in recent weeks and months, we've seen airlines slowly resume flights back to Lebanon, with Wizz Air recently announcing that they will start flights from Abu Dhabi to Beirut, which is really exciting because for some time over the last 2 years, many airlines have stopped flying, including Turkish Airlines and some others also. So what do you hope this means for the future of tourism to Lebanon?
Well, I hope it means that not only the expats will keep on coming back, because I know that during the time when only Middle East Airlines was operating, even the expats were always coming back, and sometimes they would bring their friends with them.
Yeah.
I hope that with this, people will get more courage to travel to Beirut, to actually really discover the country, not only the city, but the whole country. You could easily spend 7 days in Lebanon and not repeating the same city. And then meeting people from different backgrounds, especially in this very small country. Like if you go to the north, you have a different culture. You go to Beirut, to the south, to Bekaa, it's always different. So I hope that this, not only for the near future, but also for the coming years, that people would get encouraged to come to Lebanon and to discover it, or let's say to rediscover it differently than what's shown or how people are nowadays talking about.
Yeah, and I can agree with that as well. I originally planned to come to Lebanon for 1 week, my first visit, and I stayed for about 2.5 months.
Wow.
Because there's just something very special about it. And as you say, each place, you can drive an hour and a half north to Tripoli, and the culture is completely different. So many things are really, really different. You can drive even half an hour up into the nature. It's completely different. And a lot of people, I think, have the idea that a lot of Middle Eastern countries are just one thing. So really simplifying them. But something about Lebanon is that it is all things. It really has all kind of elements to it, which makes it amazing. And for our final question, I wanted to ask you, what do you have to say to tourists who are maybe thinking of coming to Lebanon, but maybe they're a bit hesitant to come back?
Well, I would say that you wouldn't know. If you don't try, you wouldn't understand, or you wouldn't know. A ship is always safe when it's in the harbor, but this is not what a ship is meant for. So, and then talking about safety, I've heard it a lot that Lebanon is probably safer than most of the countries that you would visit abroad.
Even in terms of things like personal crime and things like this, it's very, very low rates of this, lower rates than a lot of, European capitals.
True. So yeah, even like nowadays, throughout this economic crisis that we have been going through, the crime rate was really low. So this is also something that would probably encourage people to come visit.
Okay, thank you very much, Mira. And I'll see you in just 1 month on our first tour back to Lebanon from April 27 to May 1st, and very excited to continue coming back to Lebanon this year.
Yeah, me too. I'm so excited as well.
Thank you.
물 맑은 강
And that was YPT Caitlin's interview with our local guide, Mira, conducted during her recent trip to Beirut, Lebanon. It's great to have another member of the YPT staff conducting interviews, and we hope to bring you more of these types of interviews conducted from the field. We've done some of these in the past, and I'm glad to bring this style of interview back to the podcast. Anyway, now it's time for the shameless plugs. First up, we have the Ultimate Palawan Island Hopping Adventure, running September 26th to October 5th, 2025, with a price of $1,295. Join us as we explore the stunning landscapes of Palawan, including El Nido and the UNESCO-listed Underground River. Enjoy island camping, try local delicacies like temulak, and discover the hidden gem of Port Barton. This tour promises adventure, relaxation, and unforgettable experiences. Next, we invite you to explore East Timor from October 6th to October 13th, 2025, priced at $1,995. Immerse yourself in the rich history and beautiful beaches of one of Asia's newest nations. Discover the capital Dili, visit the far regions of Baucau and Jaco Island, and engage with the local culture as you learn about Timor's journey to independence. Finally, don't miss the Unseen Soviet Armenia Tour, taking place October 14th to October 20th, 2025, priced at €1,495. This unique tour will take you to explore the remnants of the Armenian Soviet Socialist Republic, experience the iconic Soviet architecture, visit abandoned young pioneer camps, and indulge in delicious Armenian cuisine. Whether you're seeking relaxation in Palawan, cultural immersion in East Timor, or a journey through Soviet history in Armenia, we have something for everyone coming up. And as I leave you at the end of this podcast, I'd like you to consider Lewis and Clark, who embarked on their expedition across the American West in the early 1800s, facing rugged terrain and unknown territories. If they could travel today, they would have access to advanced mapping technology, reliable transportation, and well-established routes, making their journey significantly safer and more efficient. So if they could navigate such challenges, imagine what you can achieve with today's resources and YPT's itineraries. I'm Justin Martell, and this has been another episode of the Young Pioneer Podcast.